Welcome to Brilliant Minds Unlocked. Hello, and welcome back. We're so glad you could join us. Today, we're doing another deep dive, taking all these fascinating sources you've sent our way about one particular individual. We're going to, really get into them, pull out the core ideas, the surprising bits. Think of it as us doing the groundwork so you get the crucial insights fast. And today's focus, it's Zoltán Kodály. Now, you might know the name maybe as composer.
Right, a very significant composer.
Absolutely. But the sources we have paint a much broader picture. They show him as this really revolutionary figure in music education, someone whose ideas fundamentally shifted how people thought about music, especially for kids all around the world.
Yeah, and this story is just incredible, from really quite humble beginnings, as the sources show, to sparking this global movement.
Exactly. So that's our goal today, right? To trace that journey through the materials we've got.
We want to figure out how someone without all the usual advantages managed to ignite something so powerful. We'll pull out those key ideas, see why they worked, and I think crucially explore why his vision still feels relevant, why it matters to you today.
Okay, let's start at the beginning then, because to really get Kodály's impact, you have to understand where he came from. It wasn't your typical, child prodigy story.
No, far from it.
The sources talk about his childhood in Hungary, born 1882. His father was a railway official, so they lived in these station towns.
Right.
So imagine his world of sound. It wasn't just, pianos in the drawing room. It was trains, the rhythm of the station.
Yeah, the clatter, the whistles.
And also, very importantly, his mother humming folk tunes. Just the everyday songs of the Hungarian people.
And that's so key, isn't it? Reading through this material, you see how deeply that shaped him. His first musical language wasn't formal concert music. It was the music of ordinary life, the folk songs. It gave him this incredibly deep connection to his culture right from the start.
And he was smart academically, too. He studied languages at university while also studying music at the Liszt Academy.
Which shows that breadth, doesn't it? He wasn't just narrowly focused. He was already making connections.
So he has this background, this deep listening to folk traditions, and then around 1905, he starts acting on it in a really dedicated way.
Yeah, this is where it gets fascinating.
He starts traveling out into these remote villages in the Hungarian countryside. Picture it, Kodály, young man, heading out with just a notebook and one of those early phonographs.
Those big clunky wax cylinder machines.
Exactly. And he's recording these folk songs, songs passed down for generations, purely by ear, never written down. He's literally capturing voices from the past.
And it wasn't glamorous work.
Yeah.
Sources mention difficult journeys, finding people willing to sing for this machine, dealing with fragile equipment.
You can just imagine.
But he saw how vital it was. This wasn't just collecting tunes. It felt like a rescue mission. This oral tradition, this core part of Hungarian identity, was genuinely at risk of disappearing.
He was basically doing ethnomusicology before it was even really a recognized field.
Pretty much. Pioneering work. And you see how that passion, that deep respect for the music of the people, connects directly to his later ideas about education.
Absolutely. It makes total sense. He saw the power of music not just on a stage, but in, the heart of the community.
Right. And it was during these collecting trips, this field work, that he connected with someone else who shared that passion.
Ah, yes. Béla Bartók.
Béla Bartók. Their meeting and collaboration were, well, fundamental.
The sources really emphasize this. It wasn't just professional convenience. It felt like a real meeting of minds, a fusion of hearts, one source says.
Yeah, kindred spirits. Both totally dedicated to preserving and understanding Hungarian folk music. They collected together, analyzed the scales, the rhythms.
They really dug deep into it.
They did. They learned from each other, challenged each other. Bartók might be better known internationally as a composer now, but Kodály was also finding his own compositional voice during this time, around 1910 or so.
And that leads to a really pivotal moment for Kodály as a composer. 1923.
The big anniversary.
The 50th anniversary of Buda and Pest unifying to become Budapest. He gets this major commission.
Right, to write something celebratory.
And the piece he writes is Salmus Hungaricus, and it was a massive success.
Huge. It really put him on the map internationally.
It showed he could write this powerful, large-scale choral work, but it was still deeply rooted in that Hungarian sound, those folk elements he'd spent years collecting.
Exactly. He proved you could be modern and deeply connected to your roots. He synthesized them. And this whole journey from the train sounds and folk songs through the collecting, the collaboration, the compositional success, it all sort of culminates in his most radical idea.
Okay, what was that?
Simply put, that music education isn't some kind of optional extra. It's not a luxury for the elite few.
Ah,
Kodály looked at music, this thing he saw as essential to being human, to culture, and he basically declared, music belongs to everyone.
music belongs to everyone. It sounds so obvious now, maybe, but back then?
Oh, it was radical. Think about the class structures, the assumptions about who got access to culture in the early 20th century.
Right. Music lessons were definitely seen as something for privileged families.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So saying it belonged to everyone was a direct challenge to that. He even went further, saying music should be the birthright of every child.
A birthright, like learning to read or write.
Precisely. He saw that that's fundamental. Denying kids music wasn't just withholding a skill. It was denying them part of their humanity, their cultural connection. It was actually quite subversive, arguing for this kind of equity.
Wow. So this powerful belief, combined with everything he'd learned from folk music and watching kids, that's what led to the Kodály method.
That's exactly it. It wasn't some dry theory. It came straight out of his field work and this passionate conviction.
And he had that famous quote about when music education should start, right? Something a bit cheeky.
Yes. He said it should begin 9 months before the birth of the mother,
Right.
which obviously is metaphorical. But his point was profound. Music shouldn't be something you suddenly introduce at school. It needs to be part of a child's world from the very, very beginning.
Woven into life. Lullabies. Singing.
Exactly. Surrounding them, part of their environment even before birth, and then just continuing naturally.
Okay, so what's at the actual core of this method then? What makes it distinctive?
Singing, absolutely central, is singing.
Why singing specifically?
Well, Kodály believed the voice is our first, most natural instrument. Everyone have one. It's free. It's portable.
True.
And it lets children internalize music directly. They feel the pitch in their bodies. It connects ear, voice, and brain in a really fundamental way before you even worry about having an instrument.
Okay.
And he especially championed choral singing, group singing. He saw a huge power in that.
Not just for music skills.
Wow, much broader. For building community, learning discipline, listening to others, working together. He even talked about it fostering noble character. He was really passionate about getting everyone singing together.
I remember seeing a quote from him about that, urging people to join choirs.
Yes. Sing much in choral groups. Do not fear to choose the most difficult parts.
Yeah.
He wanted people to try, even if their voice wasn't perfect. Try to sing music written without the help of any instrument. It's about participation, effort, the shared experience.
Okay, so singing is key, but the method has specific tools too, right? Things like the hand signs.
Right. The method provides a practical toolkit to make that singing-centered approach work. It uses relative solfege, but it's movable. Do isn't always C. It's the home note of whatever key you're in.
Ah, so it teaches relationships between notes, not just fixed pitches at first.
Exactly, which feels more intuitive, especially for kids. Then there are the hand signs, associating a specific hand shape with each solfege syllable. It makes pitch visual physical.
Gives them something concrete to grasp onto.
Precisely. And rhythmic syllables, too simple, sounds like ka for a beat, tt for two shorter sounds on a beat. It lets kids internalize rhythm patterns through speech before they tackle complex notation.
So it's like building blocks. Start with the voice, use these tools like solfege and hand signs, use folk songs, which often have simple scales.
Right, often pentatonic, 5-note scales, which are easier for young children to sing in tune.
And then gradually introduce reading music, like learning a language almost. Sounds first, then symbols.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Moves logically from the known to the unknown, the concrete to the abstract.
Yeah.
And it's always rooted back in those folk songs he collected. The material itself is chosen carefully to match the sequence.
And this whole system, this quite radical approach, it managed to take hold even though Kodály himself lived through incredibly tough times.
Oh, absolutely. 2 world wars, fascism, communism in Hungary, a hugely turbulent period.
His friend Bartók left, went into exile in the U.S. during the war.
He did. But Kodály stayed. And in doing so, he became this sort of symbol of cultural continuity, of resilience for many Hungarians.
And then after the war in 1945, he gets this important position.
Yes, president of the Hungarian Council of the Arts. That was significant.
And so,
Well, it gave him real influence. He could push for his educational ideas to be implemented more widely, systematically within the state system. Music education in schools, teacher training based on his principles. It gave him a platform.
and his ideas didn't just stay in Hungary.
No, they spread globally. Our sources talked about educators in the US, Canada, Britain, Japan, Australia, all picking up on the Kodály method, adapting it. He traveled, he conducted, he lectured.
He got a lot of recognition, too. Awards in Hungary, honorary degrees from places like Oxford.
He did. But, like any big idea that challenges norms, it wasn't without its critics or controversies.
Oh, what were the main criticisms?
Well, some felt it was maybe too focused on Hungarian folk music. Would it translate effectively to other cultures with different musical traditions?
Okay, that's a fair question.
Others worried the strong emphasis on singing might sideline instrumental music, or maybe delay learning standard theory. And some just thought the core idea music as a birthright for every child was, well, perhaps a bit idealistic, maybe too expensive or impractical to achieve everywhere.
So debates about adaptability, focus, practicality.
Exactly. Legitimate questions.
Okay.
But Kodály, from what we read, really stuck to his guns on the core principles. He argued that while the specific songs, the repertoire, could and should be adapted to different cultures,
Right.
the fundamental approach, singing first, sequential learning, aiming for universal musical literacy, those were based on universal human development, universal needs. He pushed back against watering it down.
It often happens, doesn't it? Truly transformative ideas usually face some pushback.
Almost always. The fact that there was controversy probably shows how significant his ideas really were. He was genuinely challenging the status quo. He had to fight for that vision.
So as we wrap up this deep dive on Kodály, what an incredible arc. That kid listening to trains and folk songs, the painstaking collector with the phonograph, the collaborator with Bartók, the acclaimed composer, and then this global force in education.
It really is a remarkable story. It speaks volumes about finding your passion, about collaboration, and just sheer determination to push for something you believe in, even when it's difficult. And the core takeaway, it seems, is that belief. Music isn't just notes on a page. It's fundamental. It makes us better humans, builds community. Yes. He saw it as vital for human flourishing, for cultural identity, and ultimately a right that everyone deserves.
And that story of him finding his song, in those folk traditions and then sharing it, it really does make you think, doesn't it, as a listener?
Absolutely. It prompts the question, what's your song? What melodies, what passions are waiting inside you? Maybe something you've quieted down or thought wasn't important.
Kodály's life encourages us to listen to our roots, our communities, but also to that inner voice, that song within us all. It's not just literal music, is it? It's about finding your unique contribution, your authentic way of being in the world.
Exactly. It's about claiming that birthright of self-expression.
Which leaves us with a really interesting final thought to mull over. If Kodály made such a powerful case for music education being a universal birthright, essential for everyone, what else? What other kinds of human expression or knowledge or maybe creativity should we also be thinking about in those terms as fundamental, accessible birthrights for all, regardless of who they are or where they come from?
That's a deep question. What else is truly essential for human flourishing that maybe isn't treated that way right now?
Something to definitely think about. Well, thank you for joining us on this fascinating deep dive into Zoltán Kodály. It's been brilliant unpacking these sources.
It really has. I hope listeners feel they know him a bit better now and maybe feel a little inspired by his conviction in music's power and, the potential in everyone.
Keep listening, keep exploring, and definitely keep looking for your song. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.